Hey, great evening, great evening, great evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Walking Through the Bible. I am going to wait a few moments and allow people to get on before I get started. All right, great evening, great evening, great evening. Tonight I am going to be coming to you all from Genesis 41 and 42. Genesis the 41st chapter and the 42nd chapter. I was trying in my head to think like how do you say 41st and 42nd? Yes. You can grab your Bibles and actually read through. I'm just going to give you a synopsis of what was going on through this part, through these chapters, and you can go back and read the full chapters through yourself. Um, all right, so let's get started. These two particular chapters are still involving Joseph. And I'm just going to give a little background on who Joseph is, not saying that nobody knows or doesn't know or whatever, but we're not going to take anything for granted. So Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, but the firstborn of his favorite wife, Rachel. Openly favored him, giving him a coat of many colors as a symbol of his status. So Joseph was basically a favorite child because he was actually born from the wife that Jacob actually wanted. I'm not going to get off track, but that I have to give the backstory to give the forward story. Okay, so fast forward at the age of 17, um, Joseph had a dream. Actually, Joseph had two dreams. One was where his brothers' sheaves of grain bowed to his, and another where the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed to him. These dreams predicted his future leadership over his family. But again, um, Joseph was the favorite. His brothers knew that. And Joseph, of course, he knew that too. And he decided that, the dreams that he had, all that stuff, he got to sharing, and which comes to the next part. Joseph's jealous brothers initially plotted to kill him, but ultimately sold him to traders for 20 shekels of silver. They deceived Jacob into believing that Joseph was killed by a wild animal. So Joseph was born. He was the favorite because he was out of the union from his father of his favorite wife, the wife he really wanted. Joseph had a dream at the age of 17. Joseph got to run in his mouth about the dream. His brothers did not appreciate it. His brothers didn't like it. His brothers decided that they was going to kill him. But when they were on their way to kill him, instead of them killing him, they sold him into slavery. And that will get us up to speed almost. So now I'm going to give you a little more synopsis of Joseph's background. Now at this point he's been sold into slavery. So the first thing, Joseph was sold to Potiphar. He was an officer of Pharaoh. He excelled as a servant and was eventually put in charge of Potiphar's entire household. So no matter what was going on with Joseph, he was excelling. Put a pin in that. False accusation. Potiphar's wife attempted to seduce Joseph. When he refused, she falsely accused him of attempting to rape her. Potiphar had Joseph thrown into prison reserved for the king's prisoners. Stick a pin in that. He was interpreting dreams in jail. So while in prison, Joseph was put in charge of the other prisoners. You hear that? Again, elevated, even in prison. Um, he correctly interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker. The cupbearer was restored to position in 3 days. The baker was executed in 3 days. Then this was a 2-year wait period. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him to Pharaoh, but the cupbearer forgot about him for 2 full years until Pharaoh had his own troubling dream. Joseph was 30 years old when he finally was summoned from prison to interpret Pharaoh's dream. So now we done went through all that life of Joseph to get up to chapter 41 and 42. So let's dive in. Let's stop. And I'm just going through my notes. Of course, I have my notes on the phone. So yeah. So now we are at chapter 41. Pharaoh has a dream. Pharaoh tries to get all these other people again because in those days they had the magicians and all those other people to try to come in, interpret the dream, but they could not interpret it. And at that time, Pharaoh had dreamed of 7 fat cows eaten by 7 thin cows, and then 7 healthy ears of grain eaten by 7 thin ones, which no one could interpret it. So it's been 2 years. And now, since Pharaoh was going around talking to people about this dream, the cupbearer finally remembers the person in prison, Joseph, that interpreted his dream, that he knows will be able to interpret Pharaoh's dream too. So the cupbearer lets Pharaoh know, hey, listen, I know a guy. He interpreted what was going on with me. He interpreted the other guy. He told him about the dream he had. He told him about the dream that the other person had in there as well. And he let him know that he interpreted accurately what happened. And Pharaoh was like, all right, bet, bring him over here. Get him to me because I need to get with him. So Joseph was called from prison to interpret the dream, explaining that the 7 years of abundance will be followed by 7 years of famine. And Joseph didn't just stop there by interpreting a dream. He went on ahead and gave him strategy. He went on ahead and told him, hey, this is what you need to do. So Joseph advises Pharaoh to appoint a wise leader to store 1/5 of the produce during the abundant years. He didn't tell him, hey, pick me. He just was he went to him, he talked to him, he interpreted a dream, and then he gave him some strategy on top of that. So Pharaoh, recognizing the spirit of God that was in him, was like, hey, yeah, how about you? You can be the one that I can put in place as the second in command over all Egypt. And he gave him a signet ring and authority. So not only did Joseph interpret it, like everything happened like really, really quick after that for Joseph. Because Joseph thought that I'm not going to say that he thought that he was forgotten in prison, but I'm pretty sure he was in there like, yo, this cupbearer, I told him what was going to happen to him. He told me that he was not going to forget about me. And now here we go. All these years done passed along and he still never came back from me. But then lo and behold, 2 years later, here he comes. He comes and he keeps his word, even though he had forgot about him, but he still kept his word. Brought him before Pharaoh when the time is right, because I believe again that was God's timing. Got him before Pharaoh, where Pharaoh was in a place, in a headspace that he would actually listen and then recognize what Joseph had on him to put Joseph in the places where he was supposed to be. And they move forward from there. So not only did Joseph interpret Pharaoh's dream, we're still in chapter 41. He interpreted Pharaoh's dream, but then right instantly after that, he was promoted. He was promoted right after that. And then when he interpreted the dream. He gave Pharaoh strategy on what needed to be done, and then he was promoted instantly, just like that. So while he was in his place of promotion, he wound up getting a family. Joseph marries. I'm probably going to jack this name up, Asenath, and has two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and I'm probably jacking these names up, excuse me. And the famine begins, causing people from all the nations to come to Egypt to buy grain. So he named his children in 41. The children signified, or the children their names. It actually specified a symbol, and it specified what his journey was basically like while he was in slavery and he was in prison in Egypt. But now he's in a position of elevation, and he's came out of prison, and now he's in a position, in a place to where he's second in command. To come from prison and then come to second in command, that was a quick elevation. I don't know about y'all, but when you think about it, that's how quickly God can turn any situation around concerning us. But I'm gonna stay on task, and we're going to chapter 42. All right, in chapter 42, um because of the famine, Jacob sends his sons to Egypt to buy grain, but keeps the youngest Benjamin at home. So you see how that's set up? Because again, God gave Joseph a dream back when he was 17 years old. Again, he was young. He didn't understand. He didn't even seek God about the dream. Sometimes, we have a dream and we get excited about it. We don't seek God about the dream. We don't even talk to wise counsel about the dream. We're just like, oh, we had a dream, and we just kind of run with it. And we have to make sure that we're being good stewards of all that stuff. But again, I'm going to stay on cast. So, the brothers wind up making it to Egypt because that's the only place that was told that they had grain. The brothers bow before Joseph, fulfilling and that was a fulfillment of the dream. And but they do not recognize him. Joseph texts them by accusing them to be spies. Joseph imprisons Simeon and demands that they bring Benjamin to prove their honesty, leaving them to grapple with guilt over the past betrayal of Joseph. So he off the bat knows who they are. They don't know who he is, but he knows who they are. And when they came before him, they of course they were coming because it was a famine in the grain and all that. But Joseph still had to mess with him a little bit. His heart posture was, because he did some stuff, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. He did some stuff that still looked his brothers out, but he was still in his feelings a little bit because he tried to get his little revenge back. He tried to, see if they were still the same people that threw him into prison and betrayed him and played him out, or was they really changed, or was they gonna do better now that they had the opportunity to do better. So the brothers return to Canaan with grain, but they find their money in their sacks, causing fear. So they came to buy grain, they gave the money, but Joseph wound up replenishing what they had and still giving them an abundance of the grain and the stuff that they came for. So again, they got the family discount. They didn't realize why they got the family discount, because now they scared. They like, wait a minute, they made a mistake. We got this money back, and we got this grain, and what is going on? The man already done accused us of being spies, and now we got he really coming for us. But they didn't realize they got a family discount because they didn't realize that was their family, right? So they tell Jacob, who refused to let Benjamin go despite of Reuben's plea. Because basically the brother was like, listen, you let me bring Benjamin with me. If I don't bring him back, you can kill my kids. And that's how, I guess, confident that the older brother is like, hey, listen, you can kill mine. I'm gonna make sure I bring my baby brother back. And if I don't, you can, like, there's nobody that'll really be in that place to be like, hey, you can, and put their kids on the line for something else. But again, I'm gonna stay on task. And then of course it's the and it's just funny how God moved, not funny how God moved, but God orchestrated this whole famine, orchestrated the whole thing to bring the family back around full circle. The same place where they thought they were throwing their brother in to slavery was the place where he was supposed to be at, to be able to bring them out in a position to where they would have what they need during the time of famine and elevate them into places where they needed to be. Like it is definitely a God thing, because it wasn't Joseph. It was God, and it was how he was working and how he orchestrated it all. Because again, he gave Joseph the dream when he was 17. But Joseph, of course, he didn't understand it. He didn't get it, but he gave Joseph the dream when he was 17. But the way that God played it out and orchestrated it out, like when you read them full chapters and you read it piece by piece, bit by bit, because again, for me to come on here and do y'all chapter 41 and 42, like I had to go, gotta go back, gotta get some back tents, gotta get some get the stuff that went on beforehand so you could have the meat to what's going on now. And when you read that full story, you're like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Oh, what's gonna happen next? Because God orchestrated that whole thing. And I mean, I know we've heard it preached. We've heard about, Joseph, he was sold into slavery, and his whole family wound up. Like we've heard it preached from different aspects. But when you really look at the way God orchestrates something, he has his hand moving in different things, you have no choice but to really think back and be like, whoa, Father, look at the position, or look at the place that you may be in right now, and really look at it from the standpoint of, okay, God, this is what you have placed me in. This is the position that you have placed me in. Now, what am I supposed to do with it? How do I steward this the right way? As opposed to being caught up in, oh, this seems like this type of circumstance. This seems like, oh, it's not moving right. It's not working right. It's not doing right. Like, God, what am I supposed to be doing while I'm here? Because Joseph, his everything, if he would have gave up, just think about, because I know, like now I'm talking, because I done gave y'all the synopsis of everything that went on. But think about being imprisoned. Think about, first of all, being betrayed by people that you love, by people that you ain't never did nothing wrong to. All you did was love. Yeah, and they his brother, so I'm pretty sure they share moments, they share all these things. And for them to despise you and to hate you and get a hatred for you so much that they want you dead. And then not only do they want you dead, but then they act on the fact of that they want to kill you or want to get rid of you. So then in them moving in that and wanting to get rid of you, they actually act on it and they get rid of you. They sell you into slavery for 20 pieces of silver. They put a price on your head that's not even worth a price. So then once they put that price on your head and they get rid of you, now you still are being elevated. God's still showing you that he's with you. Your hand is on your life. Like when you look at Joseph's story, like there are so many instances to where he could have been like, nope, I'm gonna give up. I don't understand. Woe is me. Why are they doing me like this? Why are they trying to keep me down? Why are they trying to stop me? Why are they doing what is going on? But in every place he went to, he was elevated. He was in a servant in Potiphar's house, but he wound up running the whole household. Then when he got put in prison for being lied on by Potiphar's wife, he got put in charge of everybody in the prison. And the orchestrating thing is, when you look at everywhere that he had to go, like he had to go to prison. Like, yeah, it might have been unfortunate that the girl had to lie and cry rape, but he had to go to prison. And he couldn't just go to any prison. He had to go to Pharaoh's prison. And when you look at that thing even deeper, and when you look at it from the God standpoint, like God wasn't just looking out for Joseph, he was looking out for all parties involved. He was looking out for Pharaoh, he was looking out for Jacob, he was looking out for the brothers, he was looking out for like the whole land. Joseph had all this stuff on him and he didn't even realize it. And he could have been caught up in the woe is me. You don't know what, who, what, where, why, when. all that God has stacked up on you to move into. But we have to get ourselves in that place to where we're like, you know what, Father, not my will, but your will be done, and move in it and not get into the woe is me, but keep thriving and keep moving, giving our best wherever we're at. Because I'm pretty sure Joseph, they didn't just promote him in Potiphar's house. They didn't just promote him in prison because he was just sitting around soaking and twiddling his thumbs and, oh, body knows the trouble I, like, none of that. They didn't elevate him because of that. They elevated him because no matter where he was at, he was putting his best foot forward. He wasn't laying down and dying. He wasn't giving up. And 9 times out of 10, they've even seen, like, for Pharaoh, don't want to get ahead of myself, but even for Pharaoh to recognize when he wound up them years later after he interpreted the dream for the cupbearer and for the other man that was in, like, for Pharaoh to even recognize the spirit of God that was in him, that means he kept his relationship with God moving. That means that he kept his relationship with God in a pure place, no matter where he was, no matter what he had going on. Like, there's so many different turns that you can see from this to where, you know what, no matter what we have going on, no matter what we find ourselves in, no matter what is going on, we got to keep our relationship with God open and pure. We have to make sure that we're processing it not from our own mindset, not from our own understanding, but from where he is moving and orchestrating things, because God orchestrated this thing beautiful. Nobody could have did it like God did it in this. Because if one little thing would have been out of place, ain't no telling where Egypt would have been at. Ain't no telling if his brothers and his family would have died of starvation. But God had to, like, his word, because he gave that young man, he gave him that prophetic dream. And God is not a man that he should lie, the son of man that he has to repent. So therefore it had to come to pass. But it's just crazy because I know Joseph didn't think it was, when that dream come back around, that it meant all of that. And the dream was the beautiful, like, he seen the end part. The dream was the end part where he seen them bowing down to him and them and all. When he seen all of that, he seen the end part. But he didn't see what was going to make it be to that expected end. So Tara, what are you saying? I'm saying, like, be encouraged. Like, sometimes God gives us a prophetic word. God gives us a prophetic dream, and it shows us what the end is going to be like, so we can push through. So if you have gotten a prophetic word, if you have had a prophetic dream, like, go back to it. Write it down. Remember, no matter what season you are in right now, go back to it and say, God, I still trust you. Even in this season that I'm in, I know you showed me this, and right now it looks like this, but I'm still trusting you because I know you're going to get me to it. And I know that even in this thing that I may be in, or this, what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing, you're still working it. You're orchestrating it together. Because the word says all things, not some things, not a couple things, not a few of the things, not the things that I like, not the things that I don't like, but all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So therefore, if he's orchestrating it for our good and he's putting it together for us, we got to trust the process. Because Joseph that thing could have turned so many different ways. But he was a good steward in every single position he found himself in. Tara, why are you saying that? The elevation came. Them people didn't know that boy from a can of paint. They didn't know the dream that God sent him. They didn't know that God had a plan for his life and was going to elevate him. All they knew was what they seen in front of him right then. They knew they seen somebody trustworthy. They seen somebody putting their best foot forward. They seen somebody that was doing, things the way that it should be done. And now he looks like, okay, he needs to be elevated. Okay, yeah, I can trust him to do this part right here. So be encouraged on this evening. Again, I came from Genesis 41 and 42. And be encouraged on this evening. Go back and read those chapters for yourself. And then examine where you're at now. Examine what God has told you, what he's going to do. Examine all these places in your life and say, you know what, Father? Not my will, but your will be done. Because it's a lot of things seem desolate and destitute. I can give my own testimony, but I'm not going to do all that right now. But a lot of things can seem desolate. They can seem destitute. But God is still orchestrating that thing and working it together. There's moments in life that we have to be in certain positions. We have to be in certain situations so that his hand can grow strong and mighty, so that he can get the glory, so that the move can be made and everybody will know that it was him. All right, so it's been 25 minutes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I was supposed to be 15 or 20, but thank y'all for joining in. If you feel led to do so, please share all the good stuff. Today's Monday. Midnight Mondays, midnight prayer tonight. Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. prayer. Tomorrow is after also our fast day. So getting your mind about fasting and consecrating. We've been learning about it. Go back, watch some stuff while we're in fasting and consecration. Go back, watch the word that came forth Sunday. Watch the word this apostle's been given, so you can have your fuel that you need to make it through prayer and consecration and fasting successfully. Thursday 6 a.m. prayer, Wednesday revive nights, all the stuff. We got something going on at KO every single day. And walking through the Bible will be on again tomorrow. So thank y'all so much for joining in. KO fam, we love you. Friends, visitors, all that good stuff. We love you too. And y'all have a great rest of your evening. Bye for now.